Hi, I'm Sean Carter, and today my presentation is going to be on a podcast called The Brilliant Idiots. So, The Brilliant Idiots is a podcast hosted by Charlemagne the God and comedian Andrew Schulz, I think is how you pronounce it. Charlemagne is also known for he's also a co-host on the radio show The Breakfast Club, which is on Power 105.1 every morning or every weekday morning. It's a weekly podcast hosted in New York City, and it's offered by the Loudspeakers Network. They shoot, they record every Thursday, no, every Wednesday, and then it airs every Thursday. And they also like record it with cameras in the studio so that they could be uploaded to YouTube as well. The podcast started in 2014, and it currently has 120 episodes. So up until I think recently is when they started doing it weekly. So it airs every Thursday afternoon. The show has about 76,000 followers on SoundCloud and has a 4.5-star rating on iTunes. It also like sometimes it's not really like a scheduled timing for shooting. It's more of like usually it would be the day before, but because of their schedules, and then Andrew doesn't live in New York City, so sometimes it's different. They discuss a wide range of topics, but most of them include like pop culture and things that are going around, like in pop culture and on the news recently, like within the past week or so. So the demographics, most of their money comes from sponsorships. So that one of their main sponsors is Squarespace, which is like a website design company. So that's usually who they'll mention every episode. Like make sure you go to Squarespace, things like that. More their other sources of income would be donations, merchandise, product slash service and advertisement, and they do live shows every once in a while. So the tickets from that also go to their income. Donations, I don't really think they take donations that much anymore. Like I think it was more in the beginning is when they did donations, but I don't think that makes up a lot of it now. Their merchandise, which I'll show you on the next slide, like I don't think they make that much money from merchandise, but it is still available to those who would like to buy it. Product slash service announcement would be like, how it works is a company will pay them to like shout them out on their podcast, or if they get like, you ever see those people on Instagram where they have use my code for this percent off, they get a percentage of that money. Like let's say you say use my code for 10% off, the podcast will get a percentage of that 10%. So yeah, their main sponsor is Squarespace. I think the target audience, they don't have like a listed target audience, but I think based off of like what they talk about, it's mainly like content creators, like YouTubers, Instagram personalities, just based off, and like comedians, because Andrew is a comedian, and he talks about a lot of his work on the show. And age range, I think it would be like somewhere between like 20 and 35 ish, like yeah, somewhere between that age. A lot of like younger people will watch it, listen to it, especially because it's more pop culture related, and it's kind of like explicit. So it's things that like people that age would like. So this is some of their merchandise. It's kind of basic, but it makes the money. So this is an example of what's on their website for like how they make their money. So here, if you can see, it says for a free trial and 10% off, visit Squarespace. So again, they'll get a piece of that 10%, which is how they will make some of their money. A lot of like, it doesn't say how much money they make. Like I couldn't find that information, but based on like what they have, and because they're sponsored by the Loudspeakers Network, it doesn't like go straight through them. It goes through the network entirely. And yeah, you can also like support them on SoundCloud and iTunes, Twitter, Facebook, things like that. Their production elements pretty much include the hosts are given a list of topics to talk about. Like for example, this recent week, I think they were talking about the R. Kelly interview on Good Morning America, and they'll give them like a pic or like a reference photo or something like that, so they can stay on topic. The show begins with promotions, so it'll come in with the jingle, the intro, and then Charlemagne will give their promotions, which are mainly Squarespace and some other things like promoting other people's shows, things like that. Live interviews they're usually like impromptu interviews. Like somebody who works in the building will come down and like, oh, do you want to be a part of our show today? Things like that. But most of the time they're like DJs, comedians, or like other artists. And sometimes they'll use sound bites from other interviews, but mainly they'll just reference them. Go to the next slide. So if you click play, this is their intro for the show, if it'll load.
It's so stupid, it's positively brilliant.
Please let me will always say, unfunny jokes and funny jokes start from the same place.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
you gotta give us time to get there. Yeah. You know,
so basically that's how their show starts. They'll give like a little bit of what they talked about during the show, and then they'll go into like the real thing. Yeah.
It's like I need to show that process to people, and hopefully.
Okay, so basically, like I said, their target audience is artists and comedians and basically like content creators. So they'll take time. One of their special segments is called Church Announcements. So they'll take time, like Andrew, who's a comedian, he'll take time out to promote himself, like his own work. Like if he has a show coming up or like a tour or something like that, he'll promote his own work. And the same thing with Charlemagne, like he has a new book out that he's promoting on the show. So they also use the podcast to like promote themselves and make money for themselves. And another segment is called Andrew's Theories, where he'll like come up with a theory based on like a certain like recent event. Next. The show's been on for about 5 years, but I think that it became more popular as Charlemagne became more popular because he's known for like saying a lot of explicit things on his radio show, The Breakfast Club, and he's known for like getting a lot of people angry and like riled up because he doesn't like, he doesn't like hide himself like when he's talking. So I think as he and The Breakfast Club became more popular, this podcast became more popular. And something I can learn from it for my podcast is definitely like how to stay like the production wise, like how to stay on topic, how to stay on time and things like that. And yeah, that's it. Any questions?
Nice job, Shjan. And I think our first question is going to come from Chris.
How often do you watch this podcast, and would you recommend it?
I listen to it pretty much every week when it comes out. I would recommend it if you like comedic things like that. Like if you listen to comedy, if you watch comedy, things like that, and if you're not like opposed to explicit talk.
I'm a little curious as to how you came to find this in the first place.
So I've watched Andrew like do stand up on YouTube. So and then I listened to Charlemagne like on the radio, and I know who he is. So when I saw that they were doing a podcast together, I actually found him on YouTube first, and that's when I started listening to it like whenever, like not weekly but bi-weekly pretty much whenever they post.
All right, thank you so much, and let's give Shjan a round of applause for a great presentation. Sam can fade to black.